You do not sink a tanker with a torpedo anymore. You sink it with a phone call to London. On February 28th, the first missiles hit Iran. Within 72 hours, the missiles stopped mattering because something quieter, colder, and far more effective had already started. In the glass towers of the City of London, in an office that has been pricing the world's disasters since 1688, a committee sat down and redrew a map. The Lloyd's Joint War Committee expanded its high-risk zone to cover the entire Persian Gulf, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, every port, every lane, every barrel. Before the war, 178 ships sailed through the Strait of Hormuz every day. Within weeks, traffic dropped by 95%. The missiles played a part, the danger to crews played a part, but the insurance played the part nobody saw coming. Stay with me, because by the end you will understand why the real choke point in a modern war is not a strait but a spreadsheet, why a ship without a policy is just floating scrap metal, and why the people who control the premiums control more oil than any navy on Earth. Let me make it simple. Every ship that sails carries insurance, hull insurance, cargo insurance, liability insurance, war risk insurance. Without all four, no port will accept you, no bank will finance your cargo, no buyer will touch your oil. Insurance is not a luxury. It is a license to exist on water. Before February 28th, war risk insurance for a ship passing through Hormuz cost a fraction of a percent of the ship's value, a rounding error, a footnote on the invoice. After February 28th, that fraction became 5%. A tanker worth $138 million now costs $10 to $14 million just to insure for a single voyage through the strait. Let me say that again. One trip, not a year, one trip, $14 million. Just for the permission to sail through water that used to be free. And here is the detail that makes this an oops story. Lloyd says insurance is still available. Technically they are right. You can still buy a policy, the way you can still buy a house in Monaco. The price is not a barrier, it is a message. And the messages do not come. Now meet Eleni, 51, shipping dispatcher for a Greek tanker company in Piraeus. She has been coordinating routes through the Gulf for 22 years. Her job is to make sure oil moves from point A to point B on time, on budget, insured. On March 3rd, she opened her inbox and found a message from their London broker. New premium, 5 times the previous rate. Voyage through Hormuz now requires additional crew hazard pay, deviation insurance, and a kidnap and ransom rider. The math no longer worked. Eleni did not reroute the ship because of missiles, she rerouted it because of a spreadsheet. The cargo went around the Cape of Good Hope instead. 3 extra weeks at sea, significantly more fuel, and by the time it arrived, the buyer had already sourced cheaper oil from a Russian tanker that sailed with no Western insurance at all. That Russian tanker is the twist in this story. The sanctions designed to isolate Russia created a shadow fleet, hundreds of aging tankers sailing with non-Western insurance or no insurance at all. Now those ships are the only ones moving through Hormuz without London's permission. The sanctions built an alternative highway, and the war just gave it all the traffic. Oops, here is the unlikely connection. What does a 300-year-old insurance market in London have to do with the price of bread in Cairo? Everything. When Lloyd's repriced the Gulf, it did not just raise the cost of moving oil, it raised the cost of moving everything that travels by sea through that corridor. Fertilizer, grain, liquefied natural gas, medical supplies. 1/3 of the world's fertilizer passes through Hormuz. When the insurance makes it too expensive to ship, the fertilizer does not arrive. When the fertilizer does not arrive, the farmer plants with less. When the farmer plants with less, the harvest drops. When the harvest drops, the price of bread rises in a market 6,000 miles from London. The committee that redrew the map did not set out to raise the price of bread, but the chain does not care about intentions. It only follows the math. The exact trigger is debated, but the mechanism is clear. 23 commercial vessels have been attacked since the war began. Those attacks gave the insurers the evidence they needed to reprice. But the repricing did far more damage than the attacks themselves. Missiles hit 23 ships. The insurance repricing stopped thousands. Think about that ratio. And here is where the pattern gets historical. This is not the first time insurance decided the fate of a strait. During the Iran-Iraq tanker war in the 1980s, Iraq attacked 283 vessels and Iran attacked 168. Insurers at Lloyd's lost $2 billion. But even then, shipping never fully stopped, because the premiums, while high, stayed within the math. This time is different. The premiums are not high, they are prohibitive, and the difference between expensive and prohibitive is the difference between a choke point and a blockade. Oops. Now here is the part that should worry you beyond this war. The World Economic Forum published a paper last month asking a question nobody in the insurance industry wants to answer. If private insurers withdraw from a risk zone and governments step in as the insurer of last resort, then who is pricing the risk? The answer is nobody who knows how. The UK Chancellor already met with Lloyd's to discuss a government backstop for Hormuz shipping. The United States created Project Freedom to escort ships through the strait. Both are attempts to replace what the market removed. But government insurance is not insurance, it is a subsidy, and subsidies do not price risk, they hide it. The private market said the risk was too high to insure. The government said we will insure it anyway. One of them is doing math, the other is doing politics. Oops, here is the pushback. Lloyd's would say they are doing exactly what insurance is supposed to do, pricing risk accurately. If the Gulf is dangerous, premiums should rise. That is not a weapon, that is a thermometer. Fair enough. But here is the mechanism question. When a thermometer is held by a market that insures 20% of the world's oil, it stops being a measurement and starts being a verdict. Lloyd's did not fire a missile. Lloyd's did not close a strait. But when Lloyd's repriced the Gulf, 95% of the ships stopped sailing, and the ones that kept sailing were the ones that do not answer to London. The sanctions created the shadow fleet, the war gave it the monopoly, and the insurance market, designed to manage risk, became the single most effective weapon in a war it never joined. Oops, war has never had a winning people. Not on the losing side, not on the winning side. 3 things to carry with you. Economic. War risk premiums in the Persian Gulf surged 5-fold. A single voyage through Hormuz now costs $10 to $14 million in insurance alone for a large tanker. Traffic dropped 95%. The cost increase applies to everything that moves through that water. Oil, gas, fertilizer, grain. The insurance repricing is doing more economic damage than the missiles did. Social. Eleni rerouted her ship around Africa. 3 extra weeks, significantly more fuel. The cargo arrived late and overpriced. Meanwhile, a Russian Shadow Fleet tanker carried the same oil through Hormuz with no Western insurance, no Western rules, and no Western oversight. The system designed to control risk handed the trade route to the people it was designed to isolate. Global. A 300-year-old insurance committee in London redrew a map. That map controls which ships sail, which ports receive cargo, and which countries get fed. No missile, no navy, no treaty has that reach. The insurance industry did not start this war, but it is now the most powerful gatekeeper in it, and the gate is priced in a currency that only one side of the world can afford. Remember Eleni? She is still at her desk in Piraeus. Her ships are still sailing, but every route now goes around Africa, not through the Gulf. 3 extra weeks per voyage, significantly more fuel per cargo. And every week her inbox fills with new premium quotes from London, each one higher than the last. She did not start this war. She cannot end it. But she is the one recalculating the math, voyage by voyage, spreadsheet by spreadsheet, while the people who repriced the Gulf have already moved on to the next risk zone. If your prices went up and you never understood why, now you do. It was not a missile, it was a policy. Follow the money, not the missiles.